Not too long ago, I found myself thinking about flat earth theory, as you do, and I suddenly had the thought, why doesn't a flat earther in the US just video call one of their flat earth buddies in Europe or somewhere and look at the sky together? After all, if they're right, shouldn't they both see the sun rise and set at the same time? However, a quick search online revealed that this isn't what flat earthers actually believe. Or rather, this is what they believed until 1881, when Samuel Robotham published Zetetic Astronomy, which claims that the moon is transparent and fire is slowly burning upward from underground and will soon consume the surface world. But it also claims that the sun moves in a circular path over the earth and acts like a spotlight, only illuminating a circle below it. Incidentally, the first transcontinental telegraph was completed just a little earlier in 1861. But then I started wondering, why does the sun set? If it's always above the flat earth, why does it disappear behind the horizon? And why doesn't it get any smaller in the sky, even though it moves thousands of miles away? Well, it took a bit more searching this time, but flat earthers do have an answer. Light itself is bent away from the earth by an unknown force that makes it look like the sun is setting. And lensing effects of the atmosphere magnifies the sun as it moves away by just the right amount so that it looks the same size. But if light is bending away from the earth, why doesn't the sun distort near the horizon? Why doesn't the lensing effect work on things other than the sun? I mean, everything else looks smaller as it moves further away. And how do lunar eclipses happen if the sun is never on the opposite side of the earth? And how does the sun stay in the sky longer than 24 hours? At this point, I kind of gave up. It started getting more and more difficult to search for this stuff, and you can only spend so long reading these convoluted theories. But having said that, I think flat earthers probably do have answers to these questions. Or if they don't now, I'm sure they'll construct a new theory that answers them. So why am I talking about flat earth? Well, first, remember when I described the idea of the sun as a spotlight moving in a circle over a flat earth? Even though you knew it was absurd, didn't a part of your brain go, yes, a spotlight, interesting. A big part of understanding conspiracy theories is recognizing that they hold a certain appeal. If 99 people in a particular field say one thing, while a single person says the opposite, our brain gives a lot more than 1% credence to the dissenting voice. But the main reason I bring up my questions about flat Earth is actually to disprove the idea that flat earthers are oblivious to the facts and can't think things through. In fact, I guarantee these guys have spent more time thinking about the shape of the Earth than most people, and certainly I have. They have their experts, their own experiments, and their own explanations. And the same is true of most conspiracy theories. The flip side, however, is that something has clearly gone very wrong with these people, epistemologically. So what's wrong with conspiracy theories? As we observe the world, we make sense of what we see by creating theories. We construct these theories based on the evidence we perceive. The more support a theory has, the stronger we believe in it. When contradicting evidence appears, we lower our confidence or construct a new theory. But sometimes we become too attached to one of these theories. In this case, rather than the evidence supporting the theory filters the evidence we are willing to accept. Supporting information is accepted uncritically, while data that contradicts our favorite theory is ignored, dismissed, or reframed as agreeing. Naturally, this process begins to require more and more evidence be dismissed, especially testimony from those not wedded to our favorite theory. Confronted with this growing body of information, soon there are only two options: Give in and abandon the theory, or dismiss all of the contradicting evidence as deliberate lies and deception. As the supposed cover-up grows in scope and detail, it becomes part of the theory itself, and in so doing, it becomes effectively unfalsifiable. Any evidence against the theory will be interpreted as evidence for the conspiracy. Now the idea has become a conspiracy theory. The elephant example may seem a little silly, but you can see the same effect in any conspiracy theory. Flat earthers now believe that both the sun and moon always stay above the surface of the earth. But then, how is a lunar eclipse possible? According to their theory, there's a giant floating structure that sometimes blocks the moon, creating the same effect. Oh, and it's also completely invisible when there isn't a lunar eclipse. Of course, there's also the conspiracy part, which explains why the testimonies of so many people can be ignored. Not just space programs, but also militaries, governments across the world, including those that don't get along with one another, meteorologists, geologists, anyone involved in long-distance shipping or travel, large-scale architects, and anyone who's been to Antarctica in the summer, anyone involved in mapping or GPS, and countless others in completely unrelated fields. For insiders, these explanations make perfect sense, but from the outside, it's clear that any counter-evidence you could present against flat Earth theory can be dismissed by a believer using another convoluted theory or by invoking the vast conspiracy. In short, their beliefs have become unfalsifiable. It's a good thing the rest of us don't think that way, right? Maybe you don't subscribe to anything that we would call a conspiracy theory, but you probably have more in common with flat earthers than you would like to admit. Confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret information in a way that supports our prior beliefs. We tend to accept data uncritically when it agrees with our views, and doubt, dismiss, or ignore data when it doesn't. This is true even for scientists who are specifically striving for objective analysis. You have to admit, you've started reading an article or watching a video only to close it when you realized it was going against your beliefs. Or maybe you searched for problems with the content or author so you could dismiss it. When was the last time you were that critical of media that agreed with your opinions? Just like the conspiracy theorist, we begin to accept and reject information based on our theories, rather than evaluating theories in light of the evidence. And, just like the conspiracy theorist, we end up clinging to our positions regardless of counter-evidence, as well as dismissing and distrusting those that disagree. Confirmation bias also causes increased polarization, as it leads people to become more and more confident in their beliefs. And it leads to the formation of so-called filter bubbles in social media, as people engage more with information that confirms their beliefs, and less with that which discredits them. Fighting confirmation bias, unfortunately, is very difficult. Seriously engaging with dissenting views can be challenging, and attempting to remain open-minded in an era of rampant misinformation is potentially dangerous. Still, you can improve your thought process significantly by employing a little epistemic caution. Julia Galef attempts to tackle this problem in her new book, The Scout Mindset. In it, she proposes thought processes that can help reduce the effect of confirmation bias and promote a more objective mindset. One is to consciously think in probabilities rather than certainties. So rather than think, I am certain that most politicians are lizard people, you might think, I am 90% sure that most politicians are lizard people. This has two positive effects. The first is that you stop thinking in black and white. Your views can include uncertainty, which already leaves you more open to counter-evidence. The second is that you can change your confidence incrementally. If you are certain politicians are lizard people, it will take a significant amount of evidence to change your mind, both because you're moving from one certainty all the way to another, and because you're emotionally invested in your position. If you're 90% sure politicians are lizard people, it will take much less evidence to move you to 80% confidence, and there's less of an emotional barrier to overcome. From there, you can move to 70%, then to 60%, and so on. A second technique discussed in the Scout mindset is to consider how you would react to a situation were it reversed. If your least favorite politician is embroiled in some scandal that proves to you they're not fit for office, ask yourself if you would say the same thing about your favorite politician if the same scandal were instead revealed about them. If the answer is no, you're succumbing to confirmation bias. These kinds of questions can reveal how confirmation bias affects us, which is the first step towards fighting it. Oh, and if your theory is dependent on a wide circle of unrelated people all working together to deceive you, maybe reconsider your position. Thanks for watching. If you found this video valuable, I'll consider us even if you go for a 5-minute walk outside today. Alternatively, you can like it, comment, or subscribe.